to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My God, you weren't even ready.
Okay, roll call.
Ready.
No.
Rob,
Rob's like, let's
Linda.
go.
She'll be here.
Bill,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Joyce, Chuck.
Yes.
Did everybody have a chance to read through the minutes? Any questions or changes?
Everyone's in here.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. Second?
I second it. I guess I got
Bill?
that now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Rob, Gilbert,
Yes. Gilbert really can't do anything
So
because he
you
wasn't
abstain?
here. Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
that's okay.
Yes. I was like, wait a minute, Gilbert can't do nothing. He wasn't here.
We'll get you strained one of these days.
That's to get me right, huh?
Yeah, we'll strain that here. Okay. Let's see, discussion approval of financial reports. Do we have two reports?
Yes, we
Yeah, we
have.
just need a motion to approve March's bank rec first.
This is for a reconciled date of March 31st, 2025. Prior year-end balance is $2,097,537.33. The receipts was $305,365.06. Payments, $475,589.10 with zero adjustments. Final balance is $1,927,313.29. Any questions?
If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the financial report for March.
I'll make the motion.
Need a second?
You guys.
I'll second it.
Sorry.
You
Bill?
can jump in.
I got you.
Chuck,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
We'll do April's.
Okay, this is a reconciled date of April 30th, 2025. Prior UAM balance is $1,927,313.29. The receipts was $76,788.76. Payments, $97,740.30 with zero adjustments. Final balance is $1,909,361.75. Any questions?
Okay, motion to approve.
Well,
Okay, second?
I'll second it.
you guys make me talk.
Chuck,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Rob,
Yep.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Okay, no special guests tonight. Okay, police report. Should have.
Ever get the right police report?
Yeah, I did. It's for April.
Sorry. I just got right boogie.
Okay, so this is for April 2025. Traffic citation 0, traffic warnings verbal 3.
Strike up the band, I'm here.
Okay.
We just did right before you came in. They knew we were coming.
They had one intoxication. 0 theft, let's see, vandalism 0. We had 7 juvenile reports. A disturbance 1. And they have motor vehicle accidents 4. And other assistance in the neighborhood is 82. And also, as the sheriff department was here today, and we went through the evidence room, they started the whole process of getting everything, kind of separated out, what's evidence and what's stuff can be disposed of. So he took the inventory, he's got to put together a spreadsheet, he has to run that through the county prosecutor and then the judge to get a sign off so they can transfer the stuff that's important, the evidence and other stuff, what can be thrown away or whatever, then they'll give us a determination within the next month or so, hopefully. And then we can dispose of whatever we can, and they'll take the rest of them, put in their evidence room and deal with what they gotta do. And then, as we're talking about that, John and I, we decided we're gonna put an outpost for the sheriff department out in the new facility. We'll give them a room there, and we'll move their computers and everything over there, and that way we'll give them access to it, and they can use that as an outpost as well, kinda like what Attica did. I think that'd be good, because we think that'd give us a little bit more coverage, because they'll be in here doing the
I like
reports.
that better than being in here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That way they have to patrol it.
Right, right, so I think that's gonna work out pretty good, so that's just so everybody knows what's going on. And other than that, I mean, I think they're doing a pretty good job, they're watching schools pretty good, and I think they're doing a good job in town. And I don't think we have a lot of major issues, so. And even the kids that, I had to laugh because John and I was discussing, the kids are out here raising all kinds of hell with their ATVs and stuff, and they throw all kinds of mud and stuff on the road out here. So the sheriff went down and cornered them, made them come back with shovels and brooms,
Oh,
you know, this shit
good,
off. Yeah.
good,
Oh, yeah.
good.
So I don't think that's gonna happen again, at least with them, that group of
I
kids.
hope not.
You know, I mean, I don't care if they have fun, but they
Yeah.
did kind of make a mess
Yeah.
out there. So he kinda went down and had a little discussion with them and, you know, and said, this is the way it's gonna be, and they come down and I said, there's 6 kids out there scraping the road, I thought, oh, that's pretty good. I don't know how you ever get 6 kids that work like that, but he did, so it was kinda fun.
That's
so.
good.
Since you brought it up,
Detention center does a lot.
I'll just say that having an ATV park with good intention and all that, but there are some kinks in it,
Oh, I'm sure there is.
because one, they gotta drive to it to get to it, and they
Yeah.
gotta break the law to do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here they are driving up and down, but the problem is, they start doing that, and then they said, heck with the park, we'll just go up and down the road.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they was doing that before.
And instead of driving down the road, because we've got deputies in town now, they're riding through everybody's yards to get there.
Yeah.
There was a, and I didn't, I was tempted to call the police, but I didn't. Some kid was on a little, like an enduro, a little dirt bike, and he had a helmet on from what I could see. And the only reason why I thought about it is because I seen him go by once, and it was a blur. And he was going really fast. And I could tell just by the age of, that thing wasn't licensed or anything else, it was just,
Oh, yeah.
and I thought, my biggest thing is, I don't want to have the fire department have to pick him up off the sidewalk.
Yeah, I understand that.
So, there's some kinks. They
Yeah, we'll have to work
They
through 'em,
gotta
see.
patrol that.
Yeah, we'll just have to have a little discussion how we manage that stuff.
Well, a couple of years ago, there was a very young child, little girl, and I don't think she was maybe, it's hard for me to judge, but maybe 6, 7. She's just old enough to get on one of these little mini bikes. And she was coming off of Washington there across the street from school, and she was zipping all the way around the block. And I said, that, no helmet, no nothing, just driving around. I thought, that kid's gonna hurt herself. You know, that's what I was worried of. So I called the sheriff, and the sheriff came out, and the sheriff caught him. Gave him a little talking to, took the bike back to her dad. Here you go, here's your child. Nothing was done about it. You know, and I don't expect him to put her in prison for the rest of her life or anything like that, but gosh darn. The following day, she's doing the same thing again. And I said, you can't just keep on calling them and saying this is going on. So they have to, I've appreciated something said to the sheriff to take that seriously.
So, I'll talk to them. I'll work through that.
That's all I have.
Okay,
I just
Any
don't want
other-
anybody to get hurt.
okay. Any other, if not, we'll move on to fire. Mike? So how you doing today?
Living a dream.
How are you?
We've had 7 calls for the month of April. Which is, I don't know if we're down or not, I haven't really did a cross-reference, but we've had 36 for the year, so I'm sure we're down a little bit since we're not running in Jackson Township, but other than that, tankers obviously gone. I can reach out to them this week or next week and find out what their ETA, what they're thinking.
I thought it was kind of towards the end of May, I thought they told
May
me.
or June, I think.
That's what they kind of said, so, you know.
So hopefully,
Looks out.
we went over the plans and approved them so they could start the process probably beginning of April, I think it was. Or whenever they took it down there, whatever day they took it down there, it was a day, 2 days later they told us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, other than that, I don't think I have much of anything.
I think the only other thing I wanna kind of bring up, maybe we work with Angela, we got the issue, we gotta make sure that we, for the workman's comp and stuff like that, who's active, remember just who we can, cause we gotta pay for each person, remember?
Oh,
we
you
had a
did I do
discussion?
that? Did we ever do that?
Well, like, there's some in Clyde,
They're still on
with
the
the Clyde
problem.
address that you're paying workers' comp on.
They're on the roster. I don't
Okay,
know
and
what's-
the other thing I said, you said something to me, there's some kind of training they gotta have or something, every 5 years?
Yes, I'm working on, with those 2 workers' comp claims we had, our workers' comp dollar amount increase. dramatically. And we get it reduced some, we signed up for, I can't think of what it's called off the top of my head, but it's, someone has to do 3 hours of training every year to save, to get the saving, so I'm
Okay.
working on that, to get you that information.
So work with her, Angela, so we can get that, so, I mean, that's a reduction in cost, I mean, we gotta try to do what we can do to
Right.
keep
It's
costs
just
down,
online
so,
training.
you know, and all that stuff there, and then,
That could be anybody?
Mhm.
Oh, well, that's pretty easy.
okay. Delegation, is that what you call it?
I guess, I mean, it's not like it's that difficult. We should be able to get it done, especially if it's online.
Yeah, see what we gotta do and get with
Okay.
Angela, and work through all that, so that was taken care of, so. Is there anything else you wanna present to the council then?
Not that I know
Okay,
of.
thanks a lot, appreciate it.
If you don't need me, I'm gonna go fix the water line.
Okay. Just don't get stuck, we have to call the fire department or something. Yeah.
I hope not.
Tie a rope around your ankle before you call in.
What do you need?
so you can-
Yeah.
And what? You can have this one.
I need to put it on the website.
Clean up, updates and everything, so I know that the sheriff deputy has talked to all the appropriate people. I think it was it 21 or 22, John, if I remember, I can't remember. That's
No, there was more than that.
more than that now, whatever, so we'll have to see where that goes, it's probably the point now, some of it's probably going to court, you know, so we'll have to see how that plays out. So,
Yeah, because
24.
there's still furniture in the alley over here off of Thomas.
You've
There's
seen
still a box spring laying on the ditch right across here.
yeah, I know, I've seen it.
The easiest stuff to clean up is still sitting there, so I don't know if they didn't talk to them or if they're just not doing it.
I don't
I
know,
don't-
you
I
said
don't
they
know.
talked to him, I know they talked to him, and we'll just have to see what happens, so I'll have a discussion with them and see what's going on there. Okay, water, sewer street, John?
Street, we're just trying to keep up with the grass where we can. Lee's mowing at night. I don't know. He's trying to keep up too, so.
Yeah,
Sewer, just waiting on information from the engineer on where that's going with our geobag system. I know they had a couple guys out there, Scott had to go let them in for me, Monday morning, shooting elevations, so we must be getting pretty close to them being done with their estimates, so. And other than that, the sewer plant's running great. Water, they're just working on meters. I'm pretty certain they've got about half of them installed and some more. They've got scheduled appointments for a ways out, but.
We had to reschedule one, Rubs, because the guy got stuck. He got his head and shoulders in, but he couldn't get the rest of the way, you know, so, they called their boss to send him a skinny person to help him. I'm sure quite a few of them.
So there's still a lot of people that have not called and made their appointments. The second mailing went out last Thursday, so everyone should have gotten them Saturday or yesterday or today. So hopefully the amount of appointments picks up. Then the ones who don't make appointments out of this will get door tags threatening disconnection until they get it squared away,
Yeah,
so.
gonna have to.
we gotta do what we gotta do.
So,
They're quick about it, they did ours.
oh
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, they're really good, yeah.
it
yeah.
don't take long, so as long as they can get to it and the valves are good.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with them quite a bit on a lot of places, don't have valves before their meter. So when this is all done and I get all the information back from them, I'll be able to see their notes where they've wrote notes on the appointment sheets that they write on there needed shut off from city. So I'll be able to go back through them and contact those people and let them know they need to get a plumber in there and get that fixed, because it's for their own safety. You know, that meter freezes and breaks and they can't get a hold of anybody, they'll be blowing all over, you know, that's just dead of winter trying to find a shut off's kind of a pain in the butt, which we'll get into that later on.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's all I got. So if you guys know somebody that hasn't made their appointment yet, push them.
Yeah, I mean,
So.
we're doing the right thing, I mean, we're coming along, but again,
Yeah.
there's always gonna be some people that just don't engage, right? We gotta.
They're really nice and
Yeah.
very polite, and they're just really nice guys, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that people understand that, if you don't engage, we will shut the water off, because we gotta solve this problem. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's-
Right.
Maybe put that on there.
Well, we put on the sign, maybe we'd put on the sign saying that if you don't.
Well, after this next
Yeah.
round is
On-
done.
You
on-
can put it on the website, but nobody reads it anyway.
Are you
Yeah,
sure?
yeah. Yeah, other than that, that's all I got for water. We got some more information down yonder, but Scott will be
Yeah,
able to go over that.
I'll get into more of that stuff, okay.
Yep.
Thanks, John. Anything update on any of the parks, or anything you guys are okay with everything for right now? Okay. I don't think there's any zoning issues you're
Nope.
aware of, John?
Building them, yeah.
Somebody's building something over here, I'm gonna have to get with them tomorrow, I see. They don't have a permit for anything.
On Bull Liquor?
I don't know what else we knew about that.
Hmm.
We call
Yeah. It's even on the sign, it's not like we don't let them know what's out there.
Well, it's not on the sign right now, but yes.
Yeah, it was on there for quite a while though.
Yeah.
Right, so, okay. Okay, we'll move on to old business, so, the new village office updates, we actually got started in the project, so we got it demoed, so we got all the old ductwork out, and I got all the old heat exchangers and all that stuff tore out, so we can straighten out the water system and all that stuff, so, all the material's been ordered for the water. They're telling me probably Thursday they can come out and they can start, putting it together, and we'll testing and see what other issues we got, and then we'll figure out, where to go from there, I guess.
Has the EMS moved out there yet?
No, we'll talk about that here in a minute. So, it's moving forward, and I would expect probably by end of July, we'll have it functional. So we gotta, figure out where we're at with money wise, wanna try to get some of the painting done and get anything, if there's any mold, make sure we get it all sealed up and taken care of before we get anybody in there, so. But, I mean, right now, haven't seen any major issues, but you don't know there's things you don't know until you pressurize stuff and see you got shit spraying everywhere you wasn't expecting, so. But that's kind of so we're gonna isolate it into three, so we're just focusing on the back half right now, so I'm gonna isolate everything, so all the, valve everything off, so there's no water going anyplace else but in that back through. So, and that's kind of the game plan for right now, and then we're just focusing the heat and isolating that, isolation wall and stuff there so we get this back through, and that's kind of where we're going with stuff, just to keep the cost out of it, but to still get it functional, so that's kind of where we're at. So, the EMS building is all done, everything's done, everything's got signed off, and everything's legal. The only thing we're waiting on, we had to get the sign up, because Medicare says you gotta have a sign, there's gotta be a sign at the road, there's gotta be a sign on the building, saying what it is, before they even come out and do their inspection. So, once the sign's up, and I think they're putting the signs up today, there was scaffolding out there, and John said he thought he saw some people out there when they came up here, so maybe look at the sign up tonight, at least one of them. And then, once that's done, then Chris and Lynn will work with Medicare to come and do their inspection, because we got all the security systems in, all that stuff's functional. So, once they sign off, and then we can move this stuff out, and the drugs and all that stuff can get out there and get contained out there.
I need to have these guys put a new meter in there too. So I'll get with you, so you know when we're going in there.
Oh,
to do
you
it.
know, EMS?
Yeah.
And as we're talking about that, I talked to Angela a little bit this morning, we'll need to start, logging the kilowatts,
Yeah.
and so we can
Trying to
bill them
figure
every
out how
month
to
for
do
the
that.
electric bills too.
So how do we bill them for that?
Well, it's the same, what we're paying, I think it was what, 14.5 cents a kilowatt hour? We'll have to look at the bill, see what it is, but I think it's right around there.
So we're not charging them any of the other stuff that we have to pay?
What do you mean,
All the taxes and all the crap, additional stuff they add to the bills?
well, we gotta figure out what those are, and I'll figure out, I gotta understand what all those are.
You see them on your electric bill every month.
Well, that's what I'm saying, we're gonna pay electric bill and all that, so that's why I put that meter in there.
Right.
Yeah, so what are you saying to me? I guess I'm trying to figure out what you're saying to me.
We gotta pay all the taxes and fees and everything associated with that.
Well, let's figure out what those are, and then we'll add those down. I mean, if there's excess
Probably
fees,
take like a percentage of.
yeah. Well,
like,
whatever,
what the taxes are compared to the bill amount.
Right.
yeah.
What you pay per kilowatt hour doesn't include your transmission fees and your delivery fees and all that other
That's what I'm
stuff.
saying, we gotta figure out what all those are, and that's what we'll bill. That's what I'm
Right.
saying, whatever those costs are, we'll figure out what it is per kilowatt, and then we'll charge that accordingly. I understand what you're saying, but I mean, that's how we gotta do it.
And John said we'll have to figure out how to read the meter too.
Yeah, I never
Say,
looked
if
at
they
it.
put a meter base on there, on the side of the building?
It's an econ system, so I can do it on the computer, but the way I got it set up, but right now, we just go out and read it. It's got a screen on there, and it just comes up for so many kilowatts. We'll start at June first, we'll look at the reading on there, and then we'll just have to, every month, then we'll just have to subtract previous month, so we know how
In
much
that
we
case,
used.
it shouldn't be too hard to get a hold of AEP and say, look, this is what they're using as kilowatts, what's the fees that would be associated with that amount?
Why wouldn't it be on like our electric bill, the same thing? I mean,
Because
why-
it's,
It's not divided out.
it's not divided out.
They don't have their own meter.
They don't have their own meter. It's a
Ah.
substation in
Just
there.
us.
Oh,
We got one meter coming into the whole
No.
facility.
What we should do is read it on the 15th, so when we read water meters, we know that's
Yeah,
another
that's fine. Yeah.
another meter that we gotta read.
And
Otherwise, I'll never remember to do it on the first every month.
Okay, well, how do you guys wanna do it? I mean, I'm just saying we need to start doing that, so
Right.
probably June first.
May 15th when I read meters.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I'm just giving you a heads up, I mean, that's where we're at, okay, so we get that resolved. And same with the water meter, they'll have their own water, so we'll do the same thing. And gas meters, also all gonna be in their name, in the county's name, so they can pay the bill, okay?
Yeah, what do you call it, Columbia?
Then all their
Okay.
bills will come at the same time, just like the water bill.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and we'll just set up, and just send us up to Barb and she can pay it,
right,
because that's how we do the other facilities, so.
right.
Okay. So the next thing, old business, we talked about the Green River ordinance, so we got a draft and they give to everybody, so I want everybody to kind of read through it, and then we'll mark it up. And then when Alex is here next month, we'll tweak it before we start the 3 readings, make sure everybody's in agreement with what we're gonna have to say. So that way it's consistent. Everybody okay with that? Just read through it, and that way you understand what we're talking about, and I think we will do that.
I'm just gonna leave you my markup and you see Alex.
Yeah, okay. I can send it to Alex and he can adjust it or whatever. Okay. Any other old business? Not new business. John, Dave, and myself, we had to sit down, we had a meeting with Carmoose to discuss this water, the new quarry and all that stuff, and because when we did the EPA study, they said we had to figure out a secondary response to, if there was losing water and all that stuff, so we wanted to try to get a plan put together, working with them to figure out how we handle if the wells run dry, for instance, right? So, what we're doing, they're gonna, right, they give us a map of what they got for the wells and the test wells, and stuff they have around the quarry and stuff now, and what the static water height is. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna do that every quarter, they're gonna read give us a report from where the water levels are at, so we can kind of monitor everything, and then we're looking at our secondary contingency plans, like how we deal with.
Which he emailed me a couple days ago, and I made an electronic copy of ours and sent it to him,
Okay,
and he was gonna forward it to the company that they're using for their contingency plan, and put something together that matches correspondingly with what we have,
so
so.
what, well, we asked them to help us with the engineering, so we didn't have to come with cost and all that stuff. Which one's this?
He needs a copy of the,
Oh,
Green Rivets? Yeah, we made a couple of copies of that. But anyways, so what we're trying to cover our butt, we'll get all that, we'll put a plan together, it's not a crisis thing. And they told us they're only gonna go down 80 feet anyhow, so it's not like, our well's
I didn't
200.
think it was that much, I thought it was 60.
Yeah, no, I think it's 80 feet or whatever, but, so,
Are they, is there something down there that they want? Is
yeah, the
there-
dolomite. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's what they want, that's what, it's on the top right there, that's why it's just the
Oh, okay.
top layer going down about 80 foot each side, or somewhere right around there is where the dolomite is, and that's what they're after.
Oh,
That's what they use for the glass, they said.
okay.
So they use that, you know, and then they, you know, cook it and
Mhm.
they add some stuff to it and they use that to make their specialty
Okay.
stuff for the lime that they use in the glass. So that's the dolomite's important for that, I guess. Also, I got a meeting with, commissioners and Carmoose and stuff on the 16th at Carmoose with the commissioners and stuff, county commissioners, we're gonna talk about the road and all this other stuff and figure out what the big plan is and what the commissioners are gonna do and all that stuff, so we can figure out. Cause the plan right now is they're gonna build a new road, or modify that road on,
Yeah.
like what the Taylor Miller was on, that road there, and change all that stuff, but it's like a $3 million project, so they gotta make sure that there's gonna be a commitment by the commissioners to shut this road down before they commit to that, I guess. So there's a lot of things we've gotta work through with the commissioners and stuff.
And that road has to be modified before they shut down 31.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so also.
Cause that'll send a ton of, traffic
Yeah.
down here if they
Yeah.
don't.
Then we
So-
don't really wanna need it, we can get out of it.
And I expressed concern to them about that happening regardless.
Right.
And, part of their plan is a lot of signage, so, I mean, we're still gonna have it, but hopefully that helps,
Yeah.
so. Cause we can't put no truck signs up on this road when you've got a business
Yeah.
right here, a
Right.
truck business right outside of town,
Right,
so.
right, so, there's all kinds of complications, so it's not simple, right? So,
No, mm-mm.
but we're having discussions now to try to resolve this stuff before it gets out of control. Cause I mean, the bottom line is, they have the permit to do what they're gonna do, and they're already going across the road, so they got steel plates and stuff across the road right now to carry that load,
Mhm.
you know, and so we'll have to see where that all
Yeah,
goes.
it's gonna happen whether it's open or closed.
And just so you know, he told me too that they got, where the wells are at, basically, they got them all marked out, and they'll give us, so we know where the static water level is at in each of these areas, so we know what's going on. They're also backfilling this into the quarry, if I understand right.
Mhm.
So, like, right at the edge of the, what's that, Seneca Street, and then right there,
Seneca.
the intersection right there, that's all getting backfilled with dirt and stuff now anyhow, so they're going back out that way, cause they're eventually gonna go towards Millers. Cause
Oh.
that's where they're heading, that way, that's why they wanna move the road too, that's part of it, because they bought that 80 acres or whatever from Stanley Millers, or from the kids,
Yeah,
and then
Jerome.
Jerome, so they're gonna go that way, so.
Also, they're gonna start providing us with little tidbits of information about their operation and whatnot to put on our Facebook pages and our website, just to, let people understand instead of word of mouth, so people actually have the truth of what's going on.
Yeah.
Like the blasting, I had no idea that when they're blasting, that's coming out, that's not going down. So when you feel that, it's a reverberation between the clouds and the ground, it's not underground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's a shockwave coming out.
yeah, it's a shock wave, it's a concussion basically. So when it's cloud, and I never paid any attention until after they said that to us, and yeah, if it's sunny out, you hear it, but you don't feel it. When it's cloudy out, that's when you feel it. So,
Yeah, I guess we never thought about that until you said that the other day
yeah,
too. And just so everybody understands too, it's not just Carmoose, I mean, cause you got MGQ and the materials and all that stuff out there, so there's a whole bunch of entities, it's not just
Yeah,
Carmoose,
yeah.
right?
there's 4 different companies.
There's 4 different companies out there, so that's the thing, is a lot of it's like M&B, and they're
Yeah.
all part of that, you know, that has, there's a big, so it's not just, cause Carmoose actually pays them to do the mining, and they split it off, so that, you know, the MGQ takes whatever stone that they use for their aggregate, for their, you know,
Mhm.
asphalt and all that stuff, and the stuff is the dolomite and all that stuff, what they keep separate, then that goes, then Carmoose buys that. So the actual mining's done by MGQ, so that's what, you know, I mean, so there's a whole different dynamics than you realize out there, you know, I'm getting at. So, I just so everybody knows we're having the discussions, we're making sure everybody understands what's going on, okay? Okay, 04 bank deposit agreement,
Yeah, I wanted to let you guys know, I emailed Rosemary at the bank regarding that memorandum of agreement that we approved last month. We were kind of wondering what exactly it was. It's basically, a legally binding document that ensures the responsible handling and security of public monies within the state of Ohio.
okay. Cool. Okay, the next thing, reallocation of monies. So Angela had to reallocate monies within the following funds. General fund, she moved $2,822.50 from professional technical services to insurance and bonding. The street fund, $1,769.50 was moved from operating supplies and materials to insurance and bonding because the insurance went up, right? Water fund, $2,827.25 moved from professional technical services to insurance and bonding. And then on 4.8, water fund, 800 was moved from operating supplies into natural gas. And then on the street fund, $1,500 was moved from operating supplies and materials to natural gas to pay the bills. So I guess I need a motion to approve the,
Okay, I'll make the motion.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Joyce?
Yeah.
Bill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yep.
Chuck?
Yes,
Gilbert?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. The next thing we're gonna talk about, sidewalk audit. So John and I had a discussion, I think I'll go a little bit more detail into it when we get into water and power and distribution. because I think that's how we kinda solve the problem, and I'm gonna just present it to you guys and see what you think, and then we'll go from there, cause just because of the cost of we wanna try to figure out how to do this without, costing individuals a lot of money, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
So,
my estimate on mine was $2,600.
well, the one I just did in Finley cost me $8,600.
Yeah.
So, the house I got in Finley. So, it costs a lot of money to do it nowadays, so.
Can you get a grant?
Well, I think I might be able to do it one other way, so that's why I wanna talk about it, so we won't get into that, so. The next thing I wanna talk about in new business is ordinance 2025-04. And this, what this is, let me find it here, is for the lease agreement between the village and the commissioners for the building out here for the EMS. So, the county commissioners have adopted it, they've already adopted the lease and everything, as Alex written it, and then so what we have to do, I just have to do an ordinance saying that you allow me to sign the agreement, the contract for the lease, and that's what it amounts to. So, since they got their stuff done, I have to sign it tonight or whatever, so we're gonna have to go into, declare this as emergency and go down that process.
This ordinance says it's 3 separate days.
Well, but I gotta sign it tonight, so I'm gonna have to do it that way.
So we'll have to change that.
We'll have to change that part of it, so. I told him I needed to do it tonight, so. But anyways, what amounts to is then, lets me sign the contract, and then we get the lease agreement back to them, and then it's a binding contract between the commissioners and us for the building for long term.
Okay.
So, how are you gonna handle that then?
John,
Yes.
this ordinance for Scott to sign the EMS lease with Seneca County. Alex has it as 3 readings. We can just make that an emergency and then have him update it.
Yeah, I think we can do it that way.
So do you wanna read the beginning part
Yeah,
of the
let me read it, okay.
ordinance?
Okay, whereas the Village of Ohio hereby enters into a lease agreement between the village and the Seneca County for the use of 495 Emma Street, which is the EMS building out here. For the Village of Betsville, Ohio, hereby designates Mayor Scott Harrison as fiduciary to enter into said lease agreement, whereas is deemed necessary in order to provide for the immediate preservation of public peace, health, and safety of the Village of Betsville, Ohio, and its citizens, and for the efficient day-to-day operation of the Village of Betsville. Also, the mayor and the council of the Village of Betsville, Ohio finds and determines that an emergency now exists, and that it is advisable to declare this an ordinance to be an emergency measure, which under section 7301.30 of the Ohio Revised Code shall take effect upon the adoption of same and its due authentication thereof. So,
That's further down, it says.
so I guess a motion to suspend the rules, I guess. All right.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
I'll second it.
Rob?
Yep.
Joyce?
Yeah.
Bill?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes,
Chuck?
Yes,
I'll make a motion to declare emergency.
I'll second it.
Rob?
Yep.
Gilbert?
Yes,
Bill?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yeah.
Chuck?
yes,
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution.
I'll second it.
Rob? Rob?
Yep.
Chuck?
Yes,
Gilbert?
yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yeah.
That's quick.
Thanks, everyone, I appreciate it. Now I have Andrew
So
sign
now
this,
you
and I'll sign
have-
it, the lease, and then what I'll do is I'll have Andrew send them a copy, and we'll keep a copy. Move that all straightened out. Okay.
And I'll have Alex change that bottom part where it says 3 readings.
Okay, okay, we'll get that all straightened out then. I'm not sure what he had going on today. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about, the water tower and distribution system, and the sidewalks and all that stuff, I think we put this together, because John and I had a discussion, we had a meet, I sat down and we met with Greg Burt from Old Fort. He says we got the water meter stuff going the right direction, and then, there's money gonna be available for grants, but the problem is, it's just like when we did the brownfield, you've gotta do engineering and due diligence up front, and have a plan put together, so that you can apply for the grant, okay? So we had Gray come over, and Dave, and John, and myself, and we sat down and just talked, okay, how we approach this whole thing, and what we gotta do, so the first thing we're gonna do, the first phase of it, I think, we decided we're gonna do is we're gonna map it. and digitize everything, so we know what we got, where everything's at, and we can get everything pinned to a digital map. And then, so he figures about 2 days worth of work to do that, work with John. We go around and we'll just go ahead and.
For the basic part.
For the basic thing, and we'll try to, as we know where there's, say, shut-offs and stuff, we'll go ahead and we'll pin them too, so at least we know what we know, and there's things where we don't know.
We know where all the valves are, there's some houses that I've never had to shut off before, I don't know where the shut off.
Yeah.
That's something that we'll just have to
Yeah,
get figured out.
yeah, and so then we're gonna look at, to a system so that we can keep the thing updated and get control of it. And we're also, eventually, once we get that done, then we'll do the sewers too, and it just, the main lines and all that stuff, so we know where everything's at, and get everything documented, so that way, if something happens to John or Dave or me or somebody, we got some kind of documentation where shit's at, right? So if we have an emergency, you kinda know where to go, right? So we're gonna try to get that done, so that's the first phase. Then the next phase is then we talk about, we're trying to figure out how to do the water tower and distribution, all this stuff, because eventually we're gonna have to do something with the water tower, because we got issues there that I don't think we can rehab it much more before we get another issue, right? So,
Well, we can rehab it, but if you rehab it, I was given an estimate of over $450,000 a couple years ago to rehab it, and I don't know where we're at cost-wise for a new one. You can rehab it and you still have something that was put up in 1949. So if we're halfway or close to halfway to put up a new one, they make them completely, I mean, you can get all sorts of different stuff now. They make glass line tanks that are set on concrete, they make all sorts of stuff that your maintenance cost would be way less than something that you gotta paint every few years.
How much is it gonna cost us to put one up, no
That's what
matter?
I said, I don't know.
that's what we're trying to figure out. That's what we're doing, the engineering study, so we can figure out what the cost is. Because first off, you gotta know how, you gotta do your distribution pressure diagram and that, so you gotta know how high you gotta build it and all that stuff. So that's gonna have effect.
How big did they say we had to have it now? How many hundred, it was 100,000 gallon, how many gallons do we have to have?
Right now,
According to
you got-
EPA?
EPA doesn't regulate that. Your demand regulates that.
The size of it.
So, right now, uneducated guess, right now your tank is 75,000. It would be nice to bump it up 25 in case something ever happens back here, you'd be able to supply it.
So we'd need one at least for 100,000.
You'll get a better idea once all the new
Once-
meters are put in and you know exactly
Yeah,
what our
one-
usage is.
Once they get done with their engineering portion of it, yeah, I mean, that's just an uneducated guess. You don't want too much water that you're not rolling the tower over, because then your water gets stagnant. Fremont ran into that problem in the big tower by the fairgrounds. They had to put mixers up there because they didn't use enough water out of it. So we don't want to run into an issue like that, but we also don't want to have something undersized and stop any future development if it's
Right.
possible.
Is ours working really good right now, though? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, there's not,
There's nothing
yeah,
wrong.
it's just that there's still lead paint on it, there's still asbestos on it, you know, to do a full rehab, we'll have to take the tower offline for a couple weeks, and it'll have to be covered and blasted, and, you know,
Yeah.
it'll be a major project.
Yeah, it's a major project, and then like John says, you still got an old piece of junk, I mean, or, you know, not junk, but it's
Old.
Right,
old equipment.
just old equipment.
Plus, in the long run, it'll be better for the maintenance and everything, so it costs us less.
Yeah.
To go new,
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
Not to mention there's disruption to the community.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and see, the thing is, we could probably build a tower at the same time before they take the other one down, and that, you know.
Oh, yeah, build it right next to it.
Yeah, they got the room there to do it.
Then you can fill it, you can run the lines to it, and you can fill it and chlorinate it and let it set for the time it's supposed to set before you put it online. But it won't be any higher than the one we have,
Yeah,
because that's what your pressure's
right.
from, so.
Yeah. So the other thing we talked about too is, as part of this picture, is looking at the distribution system, and then going, you know, the new pipe, change all the pipe and stuff like that, and then incorporate the ridge and all that stuff and solve that problem. Because now they have the technology and the equipment today where they can cut trenches a lot better than what they used to.
Yep.
Because like John was telling me, and I didn't realize this, but a lot of the areas, I mean, it's basically on bedrock. They got the damn
Yeah,
pipe on there,
yeah.
whatever, and it's not, there's no bed that it doesn't float in, right, John?
Yeah, though, like, they didn't bed the piping much at all, if any. The leak that we had beside the gas station 2 winters ago, we had to jackhammer rock out from underneath the main so we could even get a repair clamp underneath of it. And the one over by the school that we had last year, it almost looked like they made a little trench to set the 6-inch main in. You couldn't dig a hole on either side of it deep enough to get below the water to pump it out. It was ridiculous. Yeah. So yeah, they just cut it and set it.
Yeah.
So
Well, the other thing I think what I try to do is just, this is like our secondary thing, is that if we can get something going here, if something happens to the well or whatever, we have, maybe can solve some of these problems, because a lot of houses that are, and on the ridge and stuff, probably only 60, 80 feet deep. On the
Yeah.
Right? You know, so our wells are 212 feet or whatever.
218.
Yeah, so, you know, so I mean, again, you gotta look long-term, I mean, this is a long-term thing, it's not a, and
Right.
the other thing, if you guys voted today, the reason I'm kinda pushing for this, because that's what's on the ballot, is money for infrastructure for waters and stuff like that, so, I mean, we have to see what happens there, but maybe the money will be available, so if we can get a plan put together.
Or it'll get used for Brown Stadium.
That could be. But,
Yeah.
I mean.
How can they do that?
No, but the issue is, you know, you gotta get proactive, and, because the issue is, the longer you put it off, the more it's gonna cost you.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, look what the sewer plant cost us back there, you know, how many years has that been now, 20 years now that we paid on it so far?
Yeah.
Roughly 20,
Yeah.
so,
2004.
okay, what was the?
5.5.
5.5, so today to try to do that, it costs you probably over 10 million,
Oh.
you know what I'm saying? Probably more, I don't know. You know, so that's the concern, is that if you don't at least start that process and try to get either low interest loans or something to resolve these issues, you know, because we were kind of laughing today, because if you dig up the pipe, like the main water line going through the pipe, and look at all the different patches over the years, it's probably more stainless steel than it is cast iron anymore,
Right.
you know what I mean, so.
The other thing is for fire protection, you really don't want anything under 6 inches anyhow. We got a lot of 4-inch pipe in town. Deal Street's got a 2-inch running down it.
Is there any plans to kind of sort of go ahead and replace like the whole water
That's
system?
what we're
That's what we're talking about right now.
You know, because like I said, 1949,
That's what we're talking
Yeah.
about right now. So, yeah, even if we can't do a big replacement project, it'd be nice to do more of a maintenance project and get rid of that 2-inch on Deal Street and replace the 4-inch that's going past Franklin out to the Legion. That line, we've had a lot of problems being a dead-end line like it is. We've had a lot of issues there.
Let's try to address those issues.
That's another thing, you know, a lot of these should be looped in. Wilson should come under the railroad tracks and tie back in by the alley where you're at. Monroe should be tied in from Union down to David. You know, there's nothing there. There's a copper line running down the side of the road that feeds you guys right there. That should be a main running down through there, so it should all be
Should all
looped
be
in.
looped.
Yeah. So, anyways, we're gonna start the process, but I think, like we said, the first phase, that we got money right now, we're just gonna go ahead and do the mapping and figure out what we got, you know, and we can, then when we got a map, we got something we can look at, okay, how are we gonna approach this whole thing? Because we got, you know, I think we just gotta look at it from a sanity point of view, does it make sense, how we're gonna approach this thing? Because I wanna make sure we know what we wanna do as we talk to the engineer, so we don't get sold something that's not functional for what we wanna do, and have all the challenges like we had on the waste treatment plant, right? We don't wanna do the same thing, we wanna be smart about stuff.
Right.
And ask the tough questions up front, and try to resolve those issues before it costs us money. Because the problem is, you definitely don't wanna get yourself in a situation where you got change orders, because that's where they make their money. And we wanted to make sure that whatever we do, everybody's in agreement, and the cost is up front. So I mean, we got the funding and stuff, and obviously we don't have this extra $1 million that they tapped on it for,
And do your due diligence.
so I think that's how I wanna approach it. If you guys are in agreement, that's kinda what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
The mapping system is really important, because, I can walk down any road in this town and tell you where all the main valves are at. If something happens to me, that's taken me 20 years to figure all that stuff out.
Yeah.
So
And that's
having something that you can plug into a computer or bring up on an iPad, your mapping system,
Yeah.
And you can like, I was actually watching a seminar on one before the meeting started, and that particular one I was watching, it'll convert everything to a PDF file, and you can send all the information. I mean, yeah. We're a member of Ohio Rural Water Association, and we did a seminar, a class on this GIS mapping like 10 years ago, and Sycamore went with it. They did it, so theirs is getting a little antiquated now, but same basic concept. So I'm gonna get a hold of Ohio Rural Water and ask them what they recommend for something, but the way the engineer's gonna be doing it, he'll be doing it on a system that we can transfer it to another one.
Yeah.
So,
So he's gonna use GSI anyhow, I mean, that's what he's kinda, GSI is what the auditor website is.
right.
So you can go, you can go up and look at the boundary lines, they're not official boundary lines that you can use for
But they're a good general reference.
a good general reference. So it's gonna be kinda the same thing, so you can look at that, you can see where the distribution of your piping and stuff's at, and that way.
But you'll be able to take that iPad and look up, because you name everything and put notes on everything. So if you need to find the main valve at the corner of David and Emma Street, GPS will put you within 6 to 8 inches of that. So, yeah, you'll be able to find everything right away.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a big project, but I think we just gotta start down that path. And then that way, I'm gonna try to get some grants or low interest loans or something, figure out what it's gonna cost.
I don't even know what that system would cost anymore. I don't think it was terribly expensive when Sycamore did it,
No.
so.
But I think that's kinda, we've had discussions, I just think we just gotta do something, so. Cause John's gonna retire in, 7 years, and, all that stuff, and it's gonna take a while to put this all put together, right? So.
6.5, but I'm not counting.
He said that fast, too.
So any other questions about that, or, okay, okay, any other new business or anything?
What was you saying about the sidewalk audit then?
Well, on the sidewalks, I think, when John and I talked, I think a lot of this, if we gotta do the distribution, maybe we just do the sidewalks as part of the project and over top, because what they were talking about.
Is laying the mains underneath the
The sidewalks.
sidewalks. And
Well, it would be better,
where else would you put them? Your boulevards are only 3-4 foot wide.
Right,
That's where your water main's at. You gotta put it somewhere.
yep.
Yeah, but what would you'd have to tear the sidewalk up to get to it though?
And that's fine. Then you're gonna have all new sidewalks through the entire town in places that you don't even have sidewalks.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, I just think that
Well, it
probably,
was just like Jim, when his electric was under the sidewalk and he had to dig the darn stuff up to,
well, that's what they do in all other cities too.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean.
A lot of places don't do overhead anymore. Everything's underground.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It makes sense, I mean, let's do it that way.
And you don't have
That
power
would be nice.
poles everywhere.
Save me some money.
I mean, if they gotta dig a trench or something, you're talking 3
Two birds,
foot,
one stone.
piece of sidewalk out or something to get into
Like
the
it.
trench, and then they just gotta replace that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is, but I think that makes sense, because a lot of places, I mean, you're in some own basically.
I have found a lot of the sidewalks that's kind of like mine. There's like one of them, and there's a little lip, just
Yeah.
enough to catch somebody's toe.
Yeah,
I found that like 3 or 4 just from the railroad to uptown.
yeah.
So
I think that's how we approach the
And that's
sidewalk,
just set
because
'em
that
up.
way it's all part of the project, and I think it'd be less stress for everybody, because let's face it, people just don't, what do you
Yes, it
think?
is.
I mean, I just think that solves the issue, so.
Okay, sounds
Okay,
good.
there's more news at 11, once we get this all figured out. It's just to start the process.
I'm not gonna be here at 11, so.
Okay. Okay, if, no other things, the motion to adjourn.
You said you
Pardon?
wanted to mention something about the village sign.
No. If
You
he
said
ain't
you
here to
wanna-
bring it up, there ain't no point in
He said he
talking.
wanted it on public record.
Well, what I was saying is that Stan come to me, and we have the library sign up there, this electronic sign, and he wanted to know if we would consider a commercial where we rent sign space, and I don't wanna go down that path. 'Cause
No,
to
we
me,
don't wanna do that.
no, so, but again, I wanted to bring it up publicly, so, cause I don't think the council would be in agreement with that anyhow, cause, I mean, that was a public, money we got to put that public sign in there, and as far as I'm concerned, that's for public education, because once you start down that path, and you end up with all kinds of conflicts.
Yeah.
That would be a very bad idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's it. Okay, motion to adjourn then.
I made a motion.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.